Well, when was the last time you were surprised by joy? Like, really, surprised by joy. Mine was just a few weeks ago. One of my favorite parts about living in New Hampshire is, well, what might be one of your favorite parts too, is the moment in September where fall arrives. Not the calendar date, the moment it just hits. And you know when that happens, you see a little flash of almost neon red appear in a wall of green, and there it is, that one spot on that one tree that's flashing and bold, and it hits your heart, and you say to yourself suddenly, oh, it's here. And it's kind of like God is winking at you in that moment. Now, I didn't grow up in an area of the country with those beautiful, bright red maple trees. Where I grew up, the trees were small and the sky was big. And that has its own kind of beauty to it, too. Just a few weeks ago, my family and I were taking a trip to the lake, and I got up early and just was able to observe these purple clouds peppered throughout this brilliant orange and pink sky. And just for a moment, I had to pause and take it all in. It took my breath away. I experienced this joy that was just sneaking up on me again. Maybe for you, it wasn't a tree or a sunrise. Maybe for you, it was seeing your son step off the bus after his first day of school with a smile that you didn't expect. Or maybe for you, it was getting the news for the first time that your daughter made the team. Or maybe it was a phone call that came back telling you that the test results came back clear. Or perhaps a promotion that you weren't sure that you'd get. Or maybe it was just simply sitting around the dinner table, enjoying fellowship with friends and family, realizing how good it felt to laugh. Well, what if this kind of joy, imagine this with me, what if that kind of joy wasn't just something that stumbled upon us every once in a while, but what if it was something that we could carry with us into the hard places, carry with us into the heavy places, and even carry with us into those moments after we have found ourselves failing. Well, this fall, we're kicking off a new series, as you can see above me, called Cultivate. And over the next 7 or 8 weeks, we're going to be digging into what a Christ-centered life can really look like for us. Deeper ways that our souls can be shaped when we make our lives all about Him. And today, we're going to talk about the topic of joy. But if we're being honest, joy isn't probably one of the first words that comes to our mind when we think about Christianity. And maybe it's something more like the pressure that we feel rather than the joy, or the feeling of having to measure up instead of being filled up. Is it possible that we have that backwards? Could it be that we have it reversed? Well, even if a walk of faith is more than just pressure or more than just measuring up, here's the thing. Joy is slippery. Joy is slippery. We all know that moment when joy shows up, how quickly it can disappear. And it doesn't take much, does it? All it can be is an email or a text message, a phone call that changes the mood of a day, a headline that makes a heart sink, a toddler's tantrum, a fight with a spouse after a really fun night out, a meeting where the numbers go up on the screen and suddenly everybody stops celebrating. Our personal scoreboards, they have a way of resetting the atmosphere of our hearts. But here's the thing. Failure isn't always the villain, is it? You know this. Often failure is one of the most critical parts of growing. When we let it teach us, failure can shape our character. Failure can deepen our relationships. And failure can even draw us closer to God. And could joy be a part of that? Could joy give us the strength that we need to stand after a failure? The strength to keep moving after a blip that felt too big? The strength to parent when a parenting moment comes along that we wish we could have redone, or strength when a marital blow up that comes that we didn't expect, strength when a career mistake keeps us awake at night, or even strength when spiritual inadequacy makes us wonder if God is tired of us or not. If joy is not only that good, but also this practical, then what we're going to talk about isn't just optional. Friends, it's essential. It's something that we can't afford to live without. And that's why this question is too important to leave unanswered. What would it take for joy to become bigger than the scoreboard? Well, we aren't the first to have wondered this question. It turns out that Jesus had more disciples than just 12. There was a group of 72 that he sent out that were wondering, well, what does it mean to live something like this out? What does joy look like in practical, everyday experience? And what does it mean to actually follow Jesus in the way that he's calling us to follow him? Well, in Luke chapter 10, Jesus sends these disciples out on their very first mission, and he gives them a warning that doesn't play out quite how we might expect. And chances are that warning and that reversal of expectation might not just be words for them, it might also be words for us. Let's listen into Luke and see what he has to say. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. He told them, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Go, I am sending you out like lambs among wolves. Don't take a purse or bag or sandals, and don't greet anyone on the road. When you enter a house, first say, 'Peace to this house.' If someone who promotes peace is there, your peace will rest on them. If not, it will return to you. Stay there, eating and drinking, whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. Now, when you enter the town and are welcomed, eat what's offered to you. Heal the sick who are there and tell them the kingdom of God has come near to you." Can you imagine? Can you imagine being personally told that by Jesus? What an invitation. What a bold and courageous task. But Jesus is not done yet. Look at what he has to say. "But when you enter a town and are not welcomed, go into the streets and say, 'Even the dust of our town, of your town, we wipe from our feet as a warning to you. Be sure of this, the kingdom of God has come near. I tell you, it will be more bearable on that day for Sodom than for that town. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented a long time ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon at the moment of judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted to the heavens? No, you will go down to Hades. Whoever listens to you listens to me. Whoever rejects you rejects me, but whoever rejects me rejects him who sent me. Well, that's a lot to take in. And we haven't even got to the results yet. So let's slow down and break this down. And essentially, Jesus is saying three things. He's saying this. He tells them, number one, it's going to be hard. Then he makes it harder. And lastly, he tells them, don't count on the results. Now, if you thought this was going to be a sermon on joy, well, it is. But hang with me. We're going to get there. There's something good that's coming up. First, Jesus says straight up, this is going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I am sending you out like lambs among wolves, he says in verse 3. Wow, what an invitation. These 72 are heading into towns that some of them had never visited. And they're all bringing good news. The kingdom is near. That's good. But the problem is, this wasn't a message that their hearts were ready to receive. And it turns out Luke actually kind of sets this up. In the previous scene in Luke chapter 9, well, we encounter three quick snapshots of people who were considering whether they would follow Jesus, but, well, it doesn't really turn out that way. One of them, they wanted to, but leaving with Jesus also meant leaving comforts behind. Another one simply had too much to do. And then there was another that in effect just said, well, maybe later. So when Jesus says lambs among wolves, we feel the weight. This is not going to be easy. And that's exactly the point. Second, Jesus says that Jesus actually makes this harder. Do not take a purse or a bag or sandals, he says in verse 4. It's like telling us to go on a long trip without our wallet or without our phones. You can imagine the disciples looking at each other and saying, wait, what? Did he just tell us to not bring our money along? Did I sign up for this? Why would he do that? Because when we have less to lean on, we have to lean on God. We have God to lean on. We have to pray specifically. We have to step out in faith. We have to trust that if anything good is going to happen, he's the one that will make it happen. It's as if Jesus is saying, it's not about your resources. It's about my power. Lastly, he says, don't count on the results. Whoever listens to you listens to me. Whoever rejects you rejects me. But whoever rejects me rejects him who sent me. Well, this is both sobering and it's freeing, isn't it? Now, Jesus is reminding them that their job is to deliver the message. Whatever comes next, well, that's not in their control. And yes, those woe lines, they're hard to hear, aren't they? Chorazin, Bethsaida, Capernaum, Jesus pronounces judgment on entire towns. Why? That's because these towns had a front row seat to God's kingdom breaking in, and they still refused to see it. But did you notice? He doesn't tell the disciples, sorry guys, you failed. He doesn't scold them. What he does is he shifts the weight off of their shoulders. Rejection isn't about you, he's saying. Rejection is about me. Well, some of us need to hear that today. You've carried the weight of someone else's no for far too long. Maybe it was a neighbor that you invited, or a conversation that went nowhere, or a person that still hasn't forgiven you yet. Jesus says, lay it down. It's not yours to carry. And how good is that? Also, at the same time, easier said than done, right? We're wired to make, to produce, to fix things. When things finally go right, it feels good. We're winning, and winning makes us hungry to win some more. But when we don't, when things don't go right, when the same issues keep coming back, when prayers stay unanswered, when the rejection keeps happening, it's just hard to keep going. Failure starts feeding on itself. And soon, it's not just the results that we lose our hope. A couple years ago, I went on a spiritual retreat, and I took this along with me. This is pretty old. Its last entry is from 2009. That's 16 years ago. Well, I started to dig in and reflect a little bit upon my spiritual journey in the past, and there was something that really surprised me in this. And what surprised me is that this wasn't filled with joy and thanksgiving, but it was filled with spiritual anguish. Page after page kind of read like someone was dragging chains of regrets, a catalog of failure after failure. And it hit me. I had abandoned my duty to hope. I wasn't writing like someone who trusted God. I was writing like somebody who was carrying this weight all by myself. And that was a turning point for me. It changed the way that I wrote, it changed the way that I prayed, and it changed how often I prayed too. And here's what I've learned since then. Negativity can disguise itself as realism. And realism can be good. We should face the truth about ourselves. We should face the truth about reality. But negativity doesn't just keep us honest, it can also lead to cynicism. And cynicism, although it might feel like it protects us from disappointment, it can also keep us from joy. And cynicism grows into narcissism if we let it. We turn inward. We stop seeing people. We stop seeing God. That's what Jesus is freeing his disciples from when he tells them not to carry the results on their shoulders. And that's why what happens next is so powerful. The 72 returned with joy and said, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. Can't you picture it? They're bubbling up with joy. And Jesus, he joins with them. He celebrates them. He celebrates their work. He says, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. He's saying, yes, I saw it too. While you were casting those demons out, I was watching Satan's power crumble. And then he gently redirects their attention. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. However, do not rejoice that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven. In other words, celebrate results. Don't build your joy on them. Build your joy on something that no scoreboard can touch. That phrase, written in heaven, it's loaded with hope. We find similar expressions in the book of Exodus during the time of Moses and in the prophecies of Daniel, written in heaven. It's a statement of belonging. It's a promise of rescue. It's a guarantee that your name is secure. Jesus is saying, you belong to me. Your name is already written. Your worth isn't recalculated every time you win or every time you lose, every time you succeed, every time you fail. That's not something that happened like some kind of a cash machine, and that's really good news. But I know how far that can feel away, and it could feel static at the same time, like something that's way far in the distance, at the end, something that's not moving, not something that's shaping our now. Even with the hope out there, I can feel the grind in here. And maybe you feel that way too. There are seasons that have gone by for me that it's just like, man, everything I do just isn't working. And man, sometimes I just wish that pastors got the spiritual gift of not making mistakes. Wouldn't that be great? I have said some things up here, and I have wondered about the things that I have said up here and how they have come across up here, sometimes thinking, wow, maybe I said that in a way that insulted somebody unintentionally. Sometimes I have said too much. Sometimes I have said too little. It's hard to look forward to heaven then when it feels like we're just spinning our wheels in the present, or we're just not cut out for the job in front of us. But here comes the surprise. Jesus just doesn't leave us with a picture of some names sketched in the heaven or in the sky. He fleshes out this moment with a moment of joy of his own. Look at what he says. At that time, Jesus, full of joy through the Holy Spirit, said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children. Yes, Father, for this is what you were pleased to do. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows who the Son is except the Father, and no one knows who the Father is except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Then he turned to his disciples and said privately, Blessed are the eyes that see what you see. For I tell you that many prophets and kings wanted to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Jesus bursts into joy. Why? Because his disciples are starting to see. Their spiritual eyes are opening. They're stepping into something that the prophets and kings, they only dreamed about. It's like watching the first beams of a building project go up, not yet finished, but starting to take shape. A couple years ago, they started a new building project in Merrimack, and every time I drove by with great curiosity. I had a hope. I hoped that building was going to be a Cumberland Farms. And there's a reason for that. And maybe it's kind of a dad thing, because there is nothing more precious than cheap gas. I will drive 60 miles away to get 10 cents off my gas. Now, I know it doesn't make sense, but the feeling of saving something is really precious. So I would drive by with great anticipation. It's a little bit of a picture. What's happening here? What's going on in this image? Because it's not just what Jesus was building through the disciples. It's what was being built in the disciples. In the disciples. God, the God of the universe, was laying his hands upon them, laying foundations, lifting the frame, setting every beam in place until the whole house stands solid and secure. The God who placed the stars in the universe is the God who is at work in you. And my friends, that's where joy lives. This isn't a joy in spite of the circumstances, which we often talk about. This is a joy that comes from what and who is happening in you, even if you can't feel it. You see, when Jesus sent 72, he wanted to do a work through them, but he was even more excited about God doing a work to them. And seizing that brings unstealable joy. When we see that God's work through us is God's work in us, we discover a joy no scoreboard can take away. So here's the question for the week. Where does your joy rise? And where does your joy fall? Is it the grade that came back higher or lower than you expected? Is it the deal that finally closed or the one that slipped away? Is it the behavior of your children? Is it the number on the scale? Is it the prayer that you've been praying forever and still feels unanswered? Those aren't bad things, but they make terrible places to hang our joy. If you let them set the tone of your soul, you'll be up and down all the time. But what if every time we felt that swing, you saw it as a reminder that God is building something in you right now? What if that moment of frustration, that hard conversation, or that disappointment, what if that became a place where your joy could actually grow instead of fade? Here's one simple way to practice that this week. Pick one area this week where the scoreboard tends to steal your joy, and say this prayer. God, remind me that your work through me is your work in me. Build something in me today. God, remind me that your work through me is your work in me, and build something in me today. That prayer works because it's not just a prayer for patience, it's a prayer that invites joy. It's a prayer for joy, because joy isn't just waiting for you someday. Joy is ready, right at the cusp, to be built in us today, right now. Friends, this is what happens when joy grows bigger than the scoreboard. Our highs stop making us prideful. Our lows stop making us cynical. And we become the kind of people that God shines through no matter what the result is. C.S. Lewis, in his book Mere Christianity, at the very end of the book, paints this really wonderful yet curious picture of what the new man who has encountered and received Jesus looks like. And this is what he says. These new people that God is forming are stronger, quieter, happier, more radiant. He says, you tend to think that you are being kind to them, but they are in reality being kind to you. They will usually seem to have a lot of time. You will wonder where it comes from. And to put it at the very lowest, it must be great fun. This is the kind of joy that God is inviting us into, a joy so rooted in God's work in us that it can't be stolen. It can't be stolen. So alive that it spills out into the world. So friends, let's enter into God's courageous work, and let's enter into it courageously, knowing that if we step into it, He'll step into us. Let's not look back. Let's live this joy. Let's live it loud. Let's live it in such a way that the scoreboard can't take away. Let's pray.